So now we'll learn how to code a singleton. So I've written all the requirements in the comments. So this is our ultimate requirement that we need a single instance. Okay, so a class in Java, like this demo class, has a default constructor. So there is a default no argument constructor that we can use to instantiate the object of this class. So let's try with that. We have this demo class where in the main method we will try to create the object of singleton demo class. Okay, so I've written, so let's instantiate it. So we'll use the new keyword to instantiate the object. So let's instantiate another instance. Okay, so how would we know that these instances are different or not? So there's a hash code method in Java. So hash code method you can think of it as it refers to it. So in some way it refers to the location of the object, which is unique for every instance. So we can use the same method to check if the objects refer to the same location or not. Okay, so running the code, we got different hash codes for both of these objects. So two objects are created for this class, and we need to make this. We need to implement singleton here. So the first step for implementing singleton would be to make this constructor private. So we'll start with that. So we have made this constructor private. So now that we have made this constructor private, we cannot create an instance. So is there a way we can still use this class to do something without creating an instance? So have you heard about static? So a static is a keyword which can be used with a instance or a method or a static or an inner class. So what static does is it associates the object to that class itself. So if I create a static integer, say a equal to 1, so I can use this integer outside the class as well. So suppose instead of this code, if I want to print this integer, okay. So I don't need to create an instance of this class to use its state. Okay. So like we'll start. So similar to this integer, we can also create an instance of this class itself, and we can call this private constructor from inside the class because the scope of private is within the class. So if we want to use this instance outside, So we got this hash code. So if you want to print it twice, so as to know whether we're getting same or different object. So it prints the same object. So we have created this single instance for this class. So we'll look at our requirements now. So one of our requirements says that it should be global state. So in Java, if we do not have an access specifier for a particular state, then it is default state. But for an instance to be global, it should be public. So we, we declare this public. Okay, so now requirement one is satisfied. But let's see about requirement two. So it should be immutable. So the object, the static object is exposed to the outside class. So outside class can also modify this object. Suppose if we if we do like this, so the instance is now points to null. So if we want to, if we run this program, we'll get an error, null pointer exception in the second time. So the instance is changed. So it is not immutable. So how would you convert this to immutable? So there's a identifier in Java called final. So what final does is final says that if something is declared final, then it should be instantiated there itself, or else it should be instantiated in the constructor. So here, since we are not using the constructor, we'll instantiate it here itself, and final would work for us. So now this line gets error as we cannot change the reference for a final instance. So we have more or less created a singleton with these two properties in mind. So let's see about the third property of thread safety. So is it thread safe? Okay, so a static instance, as you would know that it is associated with the class itself. So whenever the class loads this class loader loads this class, then it loads the instance within the with the class. Okay, so this instance is eagerly loaded by the Java's Java internal specification only. So anything which is loaded by the class loader is considered thread safe, as threads don't come into play, as threads usually come into play after loading the class. So we have achieved the three properties here. So it is ideal. So we have achieved the singleton property. So this particular singleton is an eager singleton. But if we go to the non-functional requirement for the singleton, so there are some non-functional requirements such as the instance should be reflection safe. So these requirements have a particular trade-off associated with them, that if we make it reflection safe, then it could not be used in JUnit testing or other testing framework. So this non-functional requirements, so I like would come into picture only like case wise. Other non-functional requirement could be that it should be serialization safe. So for an instance being serialization safe, it should first implement serializable, and like serialization is does not do much good in these days, as we use JSON and protobuf for serialization, and we don't much rely on the Java serialization mechanism, because at the time of deserialization it is prone to a number of errors and security issues as well. So so suppose we have to use it in a legacy system and we have to implement the serializable interface. Then we have to make it serialization safe, as well as we have to make it reflection safe in some scenarios. Okay, so how do we do that? So for reflection, for making it reflection safe, we the main problem with reflection is that we can using reflection we can make any private instance public. So so as to use it in that class. So how do we make this private instance to not be disrupted by the reflection? So we can like throw an error inside this constructor whenever there's a reflection attack. So how do we do that? So we can say if instance is already created, because instance is created is the loading of the class itself. So if instance is already created, that means if instance is not equal to null, then we can throw an exception. So what exception do we throw? Can we throw the superclass of exception? So it's not recommended to throw the superclass of exception because it does not tell anything about the exception. And secondly, inside a constructor, you cannot throw a compile time exception. So the compiler would say that to add exception to method signature. So for every compile time exception, we have to add method to we have to throw it or catch it. So if we throw it, then we cannot instantiate it because a constructor which throws an exception cannot be used for instantiation of class. So how do we do this? So instead of a compile time exception, so exception class basically is a superclass of compile time as well as runtime exceptions. So for the runtime exception, we have another class called runtime exception. So it generally deals with the with the exception that occur only at the runtime and need not be catched or thrown. So so similar to the exception class, it is not good practice to use runtime exception directly, as it does not tell about the specific exception that occurs. So instead of runtime exception, we'll use illegal state exception, and we'll give this method an argument already instantiated. So whenever this exception is thrown, it will print this message. Okay. So does it make it reflection safe? So I have made a test program for this. So let's test it. Okay. So for testing a behavior, we have to see what was we have to see the previous we have to use the previous construct. So let me go to the code. So let me comment this out. Okay, so let's test it. So here we are saying that we use that instance and we like declare another instance with null, and we get the constructor of the class using reflection package. So constructor is a reflection package object, and we set it accessibility to true, and we create a new instance using reflection method called new instance, and then we print the hash code for both of these objects. So as you can see, we got the different hash codes. So how do we? So let's see if we can avoid this by using a exception throwing mechanism. So let's test it again. Okay. So the first instance hash code was printed, but while instantiating it second time, it throws an exception, illegal state exception, already instantiated as we printed there. So we have made it reflection safe. All right. So now how do we make it serialization safe? So serialization is a marker interface, as you would already know. So it does not have any method to show at compile time, but it is it in like at runtime it like uses some methods that are like implemented from the JDK machinery itself. So there is one such method which is used at the time of deserialization called read resolve. So first of all, let's see how does it break the singleton property at the time of serialization. So it should implement serializable first. So for making any class implement like serialization implementation, like for making any class implement serializable, is enough for making that to implement the serialization mechanism. Okay, so let's test it. Okay, so here we use the instance, all right, and then we create output stream where we initialize a file and we print this object in that file. And then we use the same file in the input stream to create that object back. Okay, so let's see if we get different object or the same object. Okay, so they are different objects. How do we make it same? How do we make it return the same object? So if we implement the read method like this, all right. So the signature for read is protected object read. We do not need to use override because this method is not visible at compile time. So now we need to return something. So if we return the same object, then it will do. Okay, so let's see, does it work or not? Okay, so it prints the same object. All right. So we have made it reflection and selection safe. So one other non-functional requirement would be asked in some interviews that how do we make it clonable safe? So in an ideal scenario, we never use clonable, we never implement clonable within singleton. So it does not make sense to make it clonable safe. So we will not discuss it. All right. So this is the way we made this class implement these functional and non-functional requirements. So there are other ways too. So this whole mechanism that we use to make it relation safe and reflection safe would be done using simple three lines. We have this concept called enum in Java. So this is similar to class. This is an object, and the specialty of enum is that it has a private constructor, as like it differs from class in a way that class is a public constructor, but it has a private constructor, and that the instantiation like the instantiation is reflection safe because reflection does not could not modify already like the default private constructor. It only can modify the constructor that we declared. So if we create a singleton enum, another property of singleton like enum is that it implements serializable by default. So whenever we write instance in enum like this, it generally means that that instance is public static final, and we can use it outside the enum as well. Okay, so enum basically satisfy serialization and reflection mechanism requirement as its inherent property itself. Moreover, it is thread safe as well as immutable as it the function the instance is public static final already, and it has a global state as the instance is public. So singleton is an ideal candidate for singleton like enum is an ideal candidate for using as a singleton, and we can also have behaviors inside this enum. So this particular machinery of instantiating instance at the time of class loading is generally attributed as the eager initialization, because the initialization happens not as per the use but before the use as well. So this mechanism can like is can be necessary in some scenarios where we need to use this instance in some to instantiate some other class, and generally we don't have to use it in scenarios where we do have the heavy initialization. We do have to incur heavy initialization cost for initializing in such an instance. And suppose if we have number of such instance in our application, then it will make our application really slow to begin with. So this is eager initialization. So we have mechanism to make this initialization lazy as well. So let's see about that. So we'll start we'll start from here itself. We keep these methods, we dissolve, and we keep this also. Okay. So now static with an instance generally guarantees that the instance will be loaded with the class, but static with a method or an inner class does not guarantee that. So would we try using it with a method? Suppose we make this private, and instead of like providing the selection mechanism, like providing the instantiation mechanism here, we'll delegate it to method. So we'll create a method which returns this instance, get instance, or we can use create method, whatever we like, and we can return instance. Okay. So, but this does not help at all because the instance would be created in the beginning itself, and if we cannot we since we are not we cannot instantiate this in constructor. So using a static method won't help here. Using a static method won't help here because the instantiation remains the same. So let's try with a static class, static inner class. Okay, so we'll make a inner singleton class, and instead of using it here, we'll use it inside the class. Just a second. Just says that. So we have removed the instantiation from the outside class. Now we'll see how to use this inside this class. So this instance could be, first of all, let's see about this static. What error does it give? No, static. Okay, so we have to make this class static because static can only be used inside a method. For static instantiation, we have to make the class static as well. Okay, so okay, so does it solve our problem? Let's see. So the inner class would not be loaded with the loading of the class loader. It is static, and it could be used. So and the instances inside the class could be used outside in the same class. But how do we make it public and how do we make it global for other use cases? So we'll have to create a method. Okay, so with this method we have like almost fulfilled every functional requirement as well as non-functional requirement. So first thing is it should be global. So the method is global. It should be static. We'll make it static. Okay. The second thing is it should be immutable. So the instance is immutable as this is instantiated in the class, and the classes do instantiate their instance like with the JDK machinery, and they need not be like concerned about being thread safe. So they are inherently thread safe. So immutable is covered here as well as the thread safety. Reflection and resolution are already covered inside this constructor and this method. Okay. So we have achieved the lazy behavior of instantiation. So whenever we call the get instance method, it will load the inner singleton class and the instance that is it has and return the same. So let's test it once using our test. So here, instead of a field, we will use the method. Similarly, here. Okay, just a second. So we don't need it anymore, so we'll delete it. Okay, so for reflection case, we got an error as in the second case, and for serialization case, we got the same hash codes. So we're good. Moreover, this hash code is similar to that hash code. So we have achieved the singleton initialization using lazy loading. Okay. So this particular construct of using a static inner class has been identified first by Bill Fook, and this is famously known as Bill Fook pattern. So this is known as Bill Fook singleton, and this is how we initialize it lazily. Okay, so both lazy and eager initialization have their use cases, and depends on the requirement of the application. There is no single way to do it. Okay, so this is all about singleton, and let's see let's see further on what we can do more.